Beau, tell me about your friend here.
Oh, well, this is Mr. Skeleton, or Mr. Bones, or whatever you'd like to call him. But this little skeleton here we built to demonstrate a couple of different things about the way muscles work. And so we have a lot of wires here, as you can see. We used this special material called nitinol. It's also called memory wire.
Oh.
And what you can see with that, if I push this button, and you can see his head lights up, is we're now actually activating this wire right here.
Okay.
And it's causing his arm to raise up, just like your muscle would.
I noticed that your friend here has the wires are in a curl. Why did you curl the wire?
Yeah, so nitinol is a very special kind of wire in that what it does is it remembers the shape that it was made in. And the way we're actually getting it to move the arm here is when we heat it up, the wire likes to turn into a spring and will actually constrict back down on itself. So it'll actually act kind of like a spring and pull the arm up. And if you feel up here, you can actually feel it's very, very tight now, as opposed to a lot of the loose wires. So if I come down here, I can pull this apart.
Oh, does that hurt the wire to do that?
No, it's made to stretch. I'm sure you could get to a point where it would break, but no, you can stretch it. And then so if I do the extension of the leg, you can watch as this wire comes back together and you can see it act kind of like a spring. And so this is really cool. So the way we're heating these wires up is we're actually running electricity through it. If you were to put it in hot water or have a hair dryer, you could also get it to do the same thing. But
very cool.
We're using electricity kind of like what our brain does, you know, when it sends an electrical signal down to your arm to move it.
Yeah.
So it works out pretty well thematically.
Well, I noticed that your skeleton has 2 wires on it.
Yeah.
Why does it have 2 wires?
That's a very important thing because just like in our own body, muscles can only pull. People like to say, you know, muscles are smart. We have like muscle memory. That's not actually true. It's just muscles, when they're activated by the brain, all they do is shorten.
Okay.
So if you wanted to move the arm up, again, you can shorten this wire. But nothing you can do will make this wire actually push on the arm to push it back down. So that's why if you look on the back here, we have another wire, and that's attached basically to the underside here of the arm. And when we activate that one, it shortens and pulls the arm back down.
I like that. So if somebody were to make an experiment like this, what are the things that they would need to put this all together? Yeah,
so it looks pretty complex, but it's actually not that bad to build. So the first thing, probably the most important thing you would need is some nitinol wire, which you can get on Amazon and a couple of other different places. It's readily easy to get, and it's a really neat little material to work with. And so what I did here is I just got a model skeleton, and I drilled holes in the different parts of the arm and the leg that I then just ran the wire through, or tied a string to it to get it to act like your muscle. And so then when you do that, you can then take some wire and you can hook it up to a power source, kind of like this power source we have down here.
Okay.
And when you run electricity through it, then it'll just shorten just like that. Now, we had to build a circuit out here, and so that we could work both the arm, flexing and extending, as well as the leg, flexing backwards like this and extending back. So we just had to do a little bit of circuitry work, which you can see here in this little clear box, but it's really not that bad.
And why does your friend have a light in his head?
Because he's always got a bright idea. We actually had to put a light in here because this power source that we used was too strong, and it drew just a little bit too much electricity for us. So when you hook up a light bulb to a circuit the way we did in series, you can actually have some of your electricity go through that instead, and it lowers the total amount that we ended up using. So it just helps protect the whole experiment a little bit better and make it work.
And I heard you saying earlier that this works with heat. So with the electricity going through it, it's heating it up. So would this work with a hair dryer or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. So if you had a hair dryer, we were thinking of using a hair dryer originally, but it was a bit too hard to control. It ended up heating both wires at the same time, which is kind of neat because if you had both of your muscles working at the same time, you wouldn't get your arm to go anywhere or your leg.
Does your body do that with your muscles?
No, actually. So there's some cool circuitry in your brain and in your spinal cord that prevent that from happening. Basically, you turn on one muscle, you shorten it, and you have to consequently relax the other muscle. So the other muscle stretches while the one is contracting.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Anything else that you would like to tell me about your friend?
I think we've covered most of it. This is a very easy experiment for you to build at home. It demonstrates a lot of really cool things just with the wires and modeling the body and electricity and all of that. And even though muscles aren't that smart, we decided to call this experiment muscle memory anyway, just because we really like the name. It fits well, especially because it's memory wire.
That's perfect. Cool. Well, thank you, Beau.